You're listening to People Behind the Benefits, the podcast exploring the people, ideas, and decisions shaping the employee benefits industry. Thanks for being here.
All right. Well, wanted to start and kick things off by saying welcome to the People Behind the Benefits podcast, Olivia. We'll start with some brief introductions and then we'll dive into some questions, but I'll let you introduce yourself first.
Yeah, Jordan, thanks for having me. My name is Olivia Smith. I am the Human Resources Generalist for the William Davidson Institute at the University of Michigan. I'm an HR department of one, so I'm excited to share a bit more about what that means. But yeah, I've been there about I'm coming up on 8 months.
Awesome. And I know you and I connected. How did we meet? Was it at a SHRM conference, I think, originally?
Yeah, I think honestly, you used that little Hoover app and was like, want to get coffee?
Yes, right. I was attending and I was like, hey, this person's in, I think, payroll or HR. We should connect and network. Yeah, you're right. It was the Hoover app at SHRM.
And now it's been like 4 years.
Yeah, I know. That's crazy. Well, I guess we could start there. So tell us a little bit about maybe your last role. And I think you were focused more in payroll and kind of the transition into your generalist role. And I guess what's changed, what's excited you, what you've liked, all the above.
Yeah, I really enjoyed my last role. I learned a lot because there were 10 companies, so I really had to learn a little bit of everything. But it's been interesting to transition out of payroll. Moving into like a broader HR role has meant I needed to expand from like being detail-oriented operationally to thinking much more strategically across the employee experience. So I would say I had to probably strengthen my strategic thinking and problem solving in areas I hadn't directly owned before, like getting familiar with leading open enrollment and the performance review process. But yeah, payroll was like super transactional and deadline driven, but being in a generalist role is navigating like influence and communication and navigating ambiguity.
Makes sense. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago at SHRM, I was talking to you and you were just like, yeah, payroll deadlines were eating me up.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me like 2 of your full days of the week, right?
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday were huge deadlines because payroll, Monday and Tuesday, HR, Wednesday through Friday. That was basically my deadline schedule, but every day had a deadline.
I remember talking to you about that. That's funny. So I guess talk to me about being that one person HR. I know you said some of the ambiguity. And I think when we initially spoke a couple weeks ago, you talked about employees across different countries. So what have you taken, like what's been new and what's been the hardest part about the new role?
Yeah, what's been new has been navigating managing employees in different countries. We use an employer of record, so that helps. So I don't have to know all the answers all the time.
That's good.
But learning how to manage internationally, collaborating across time zones, even recruiting for those positions and making sure that we understand just navigating what it looks like financially and benefits wise. But then also it's been interesting to be in HR department of one because at first I thought I need to know all the answers. And you really don't have anyone else to directly consult with. So It's been interesting to figure out how to find the answers that I need, whether I'm using like SHRM's website or collaborating with like people in my network. So yeah, just sort of finding my confidence in like the answer that I provide is the one I'm confident in.
Awesome. No, it makes sense. And I know one of the things in how we connected originally, I was in the broker side, and I know you've worked with a couple different brokers. In searching for some of those answers that you just talked about, where and how have you, I guess, used your consultant or your broker that you're currently with today?
Yeah, I definitely use them for anything benefit related. I know right now I'm sort of initiating a transition out of a FSA provider.
Right.
So I lean on them for support. Really, I just navigated my first open enrollment back in December. So I leaned on them heavily, like, hey, because learning a new company's benefits is like learning a new language, like what goes where. So I sent a lot of emails. But yeah, I would say definitely on the benefit side, I lean on them.
Do you ever, from like a strategy and more broad perspective, have you thought about leaning on them for that, or have you had those conversations yet?
I haven't. I think either one, I haven't decided to ask those type of questions, but I also know they're a smaller, more local broker. So I think I still need to get to know like what their capabilities and limitations are. But so far, it's just been strictly benefits related, especially currently navigating the Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan situation.
Yes. Yeah. And that's ongoing and what, like 45 days out from decision time, right?
I know my benefit broker remains optimistic, so I am too.
Good. I feel the same way. I mean, whenever you see these large scale negotiations, I feel like it's always a buzz creation and then they close a deal. So
Right. I'm like, do it quicker. I know you guys don't like all this paperwork either. So
it's got to be something for publicity is my guess. We'll see. Okay, what else? What else have we talked about? So some of the other things that we spoke about prior were actual decision, like how decisions get made at a smaller firm. And I know you went from, I think your last company was maybe in the hundreds or close to 1,000, and now it's like 22.
Mhm.
So talk to me about like actual benefits decisions. And prior to open enrollment last year, like what went into some of these decisions and looking at switching carriers, et cetera.
Yeah, it's actually it's a pretty simple process being only a team of 22.
Mhm.
I'm included in the renewal process, so I sit in with that meeting, but the only other person in that meeting is my manager, which is the VP of administration. Decisions and benefits are made. Like if there's something new, I'm probably the first point of contact, and then
Okay.
I would present that new information to my manager, who may consider it, and at the end of the day, the president approves it. So there's really only two more people above, like higher on the ladder than me to get those decisions through. And for the most part, the president leans on us and our expertise to make those decisions. So she more just says, great, cool. And it's myself and my manager coming down to those decisions.
Makes sense. I feel like it's similar even at larger firms too, right? Where you've got like a director of HR or a VP of HR, whatever you want the title to be. And then they've got one and then they've got another decision. So it's kind of like a two-step decision-making process anyway,
Yeah.
whether it's a small or large company, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say it depends how many people might be in the HR department, how many tiers
True.
you've got. Depends who was contacted first. Maybe that person has two managers above them, but it would
Mhm.
generally be that same hierarchy, like the HR person, the manager, maybe the CFO if you have one,
Yeah.
and then of course the president.
Makes sense. One other thing that I've been trying to bring up during these episodes and during these conversations is ideally a lot of our audience is consultants looking to just gain better insight into how HR decisions are made, how to get a seat at the table, et cetera. So I guess from that perspective that we were just talking about, they assume, or I should say consultants a lot of time assume that HR is really the decision maker. How would you describe it? And even from your last job and like what you've seen, do you think that like that's the end all be all? Or do you think that there's just a lot more that they need to get their arms around before maybe earning a client?
I think I actually have a different answer to this. I think there's two sides to it.
Okay.
There's many situations where HR is not the decision maker, but more of the facilitator or like initiator for these changes. And I've noticed two things. One, I've noticed sometimes if a broker realizes HR is not the decision maker, they might try and jump and ask, okay, can you send me to the next person?
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, if they do move forward with that organization, you're coming right back down to that HR person anyway, and you're going to be working with them directly. So I think it's important to like nurture that relationship first, even if you can't get to the next person on the level just yet, because they've got you in the back of their mind and they're thinking about you and they might value your relationship.
Yeah.
Two, if a broker recognizes that maybe the HR isn't a decision maker, that's also an opportunity for them to open the door for that HR person and include them in those decision making conversations going forward. And that makes HR feel like they have a seat at the table too if their organization doesn't yet recognize that HR plays a strategic role in these kinds of conversations.
100%. That's what I was talking about in the first episode that was released. I don't know if you listened to it, Olivia, but we were talking about how HR needs a seat at the table. And it's almost like some of these firms, whether they're, a couple hundred employees or a couple thousand, actually the couple thousand probably do have a seat at the table, but some of the smaller companies, it's a lot of times just the HR person coming in and saying, we need a seat at the table and asking for it. And
Mm-hmm.
That was the consensus of you got to ask for it or else it won't be given.
Right.
But I think it's interesting, and it's also interesting what you said. So I've worked with a couple different companies when I was a consultant at Aon. HR was the direct buyer, and they were the direct person making that decision of saying we want to go with this broker or this one. And then there was others I had great relationships with, and there was just nothing they could do, and it was decided by the CFO or CEO.
Yeah, I think it's like sort of up in the air. It really depends on how the company's structured, maybe how long that HR person has been there, and the trust they have in that person to just handle it. I know, like, for example, not to over disclose, but like when I was hired into this role, I was told this isn't a decision making role.
Hmm.
But I think that, like, sure, I don't make major decisions, but I have much more of an influence than previously advertised. And I think that just has to do with the type of person I am and like the actions I've taken since being in the role and the trust that's being built between myself and upper leadership.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's an important point too, because it's not like you're going to step in day one and be like, I'm deciding we're changing this benefit, right?
Right.
But 9 months down the road, if you're like, hey, I've identified these gaps, I've seen employees asking for this, this is the change I think we should make, I guarantee your influence will have a lot more weight, right?
And that's exactly what just happened this past week. I did my own due diligence, researching different FSA vendors because we want to switch everything over. And I met with my broker. He joined the meeting. And by the end of it, I presented my like case to my manager, and she was like, "Great, go for it." There was no question about it.
That's the important part. So like influence is an important aspect of it, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, what else we got? We talked about open enrollment. You ran your first open enrollment back in the fall. It was maybe harder than you expected, or was it what you expected? Talk me through kind of like beginning, planning, and close.
Well, definitely easier than I expected. I've never owned open enrollment before, but if I am to, the first one is it's better having only 22 people. That way I could really see from start to finish where everything's going in the system, what I need to do with all the elections, and then monitoring like all the different platforms that I have to enroll employees in. But also my broker is super helpful. Even though we only have 22 employees, they're like, "Oh, we can enroll them for you if you want, no big deal." So that was super helpful.
Yep.
Honestly, the more challenging side might have been the platform we were using. Setting it up inside the system is a bit challenging. I think we've had this platform for almost 10 years, so maybe we're due for something new. But I would say I think my broker did a great job supporting us along the way, and everything went smoothly. I didn't have any hiccups, and that's always a plus.
That is a plus, especially when things actually close and you don't have to go fix things in the background, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had to learn a few new things, like I never managed an HSA before and learning how that ties together. And also normally, like at my past role, we only had one plan option. At this current position, we have 3 plan options.
Okay.
So making sure I have all of those in order and just making like being detail oriented was still super important to the process.
Makes sense. I guess the other thing I just thought of off the top of head, it's actually not one of the things we talked about prior. When it comes to like people understanding their benefits and either during enrollment or even, in the last couple of months, have you gotten a lot of questions around things that you might have thought are more basic or people should understand? Or has there been any kind of crazy questions you didn't expect in this role?
Not so far. What I found most interesting is sometimes people rely on their spouses to make the decision and they don't have any idea what's going on. And that's totally fine. But I think it's important to understand what benefits you have so that you can fully utilize them to like their fullest capacity.
Yeah.
And also just understanding what works best for you financially, where you can possibly save money, and what you can lean on in hard times. So we try to make sure our employees understand the entire package because we have a portal that they can go to and look at all the current rates for the year, along with links to other resources, their EAP. And then we also have our broker come in for a like 30-minute presentation to walk them through it each time as well, or every open enrollment season. So we try and make sure that they fully go in to open enrollment knowing what's on the table.
Awesome. Yeah, it's good. I mean, I think yearly education's good. It's also about like how people feel they have a resource during the year too, right? And I think the smaller the company, with you being a one-person HR team, people probably feel hopefully a little more comfortable coming to you. But some of the larger organizations, people avoid benefits questions, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And even I used to avoid benefit questions. In fact, benefits to me used to be this very vague, confusing concept. And so I'm glad I got this role because now I feel like I understand it better
Yep.
and I feel more confident in my ability to administer them.
Well, probably just looking into the FSA and learning the new HSA, you probably learned quite a bit too, right?
Yes, that. And then there were even changes to, because we operate with a 403B for retirement, and there were even changes to that federally over the last year. So making sure we updated those plan documents, that was a doozy.
I'm sure it was. Yeah, changing those things is never a walk in the park.
Nope, but that's why we have a good attorney.
Right. You got that right. Okay, let's talk about change. So it's another topic that has come up a few times on these conversations that I've had with folks. It seems like the most common thing I'm hearing now. It's just like how people navigate change, whether it's a benefits decision, change in leadership, whatever it may be. And I know when we first connected, when you got your new role, you walked into an organization that was somewhat in a mid transition with a new president coming in. Staff was adjusting to the change. There might have been an engagement survey in process. So talk to me about how you built the credibility as the HR leader when the culture itself was kind of going through some change.
Yeah. Well, from my personal experience, I've noticed that anyone who storms into an organization and wants to make changes, demands, and things like that, they don't get very far. So I'm very intentional about letting people take their time to get to know me. I also recognize that the HR generalists they had before me had been there 30 years. And so those are big shoes to fill. And that is a level of trust and respect that doesn't come day one. So, yeah, I just try to make sure that my employees know that I see them. And then I do this by finding small ways to appreciate them, include them. And I've reassured them that yes, while HR is meant to protect the company, I also have their best interest and them in mind whenever I'm making those decisions that protect the company, and that protecting the company protects them. And then I also pride myself in being very quick to respond to emails, not in I'm constantly watching my email way, but letting them know that I prioritize their inquiries and concerns, and that I will try to find an answer for them as quick as possible because it's important so that they can get back to their work. And then, I also make sure for decisions, I make sure that the respective team or anyone affected is in the loop, and I give them a full heads up and a detailed description of what's changing, what's happening, what's the timeline with that. And I'm happy. I feel like it's working because one of my staff members told me that they noticed zero disruption from the change between the last HR journalist and me. There was no hiccup in processes, quality, and that meant so much to me at the time. Because even then I was only 4 months in. This is even 4 more months later, and I'm like, wow, okay, we're on the right track.
Anytime you can make a change, whether it's a new position or something in their product or something that affects them, and someone can tell you zero disruption, you should definitely take that as a very, very good compliment.
I was very happy. I went home, I told my whole family.
That's awesome. Well, because if you think about basic human psychology, any change is uncomfortable. So people are going to be resistant to it.
Exactly. I know. And I feel like right now in HR, it's all about positive change. And I like change. I understand we need to be change agents, but I think there's also something to sitting in the change, seeing what it creates, and letting people get back to their routines. Because I think there is something to having routine and stability at your workplace.
Absolutely. Okay. One other thing that I just thought of when talking about change and just what's going on in society too lately with AI. How have you all embraced it? How are you all talking about it internally? Is it making big changes? Talk to me about that.
Yeah. My workplace is super proactive. In fact, the policy started even before my time. We just finalized it again because AI is constantly changing.
Yes.
So we sort of have it in the policy that we will review and update every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
But we're embracing it. But I also think it was very thoughtful. Our IT manager led the initiative, and he has been super intentional and thoughtful about it as well, gauging employees and asking them what they're worried about, what their fears are, what they don't want to use it in, what they do want to use it in. And I like that because I was even asked, how do I want to use AI in HR? And I said, I refuse to use it in recruiting in any aspect. I really like keeping the human in recruiting.
Yep.
And it's respected. There's no question. And we're using Claude. And so we have sort of like just a WDI Claude that everyone can collaborate in. It's still a learning process. And I think we even have like a training set up in 2 weeks to do a deep dive. But my organization is very proactive about it. And I feel like we're on top of it and we all have the general understanding that we want it to use it for good.
That's great. So that's what I think is the important part. And we've done a couple things internally at our company too, where we've actually just set up like monthly or even every once in a while, just sessions to say, hey, I'm using it this way. Have you all thought about doing it for this? And I feel like it just sparks different ideas for people of how they can actually take it back to their daily job too.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I mean, I'm 50-50. I understand and recognize the environmental impact, so I try not to use it as much, but it is sure helpful for revamping performance review processes.
Absolutely. And I don't know if I told you this, Olivia, but my wife works in recruiting as well. So it's funny you bring up the recruiting side because there's just a certain element that like humans have to be a part of. I don't know, maybe other people think otherwise with it, but when you're going through an onboarding process or an interview process, like the last thing you want to just be dealing with as a candidate is a bot or just some automated form, right?
Exactly. I can't tell you the number of times I get upset when I call a helpline and it's a bot first. Like, where's my human?
I know. Push zero. Talk to a human. That's
exactly.
What I just was on with Delta yesterday. I was traveling home and I actually got on the phone and I was impressed because I got the bot and I pushed 0 and it actually connected me to a live human immediately.
Oh, wow.
I know. I was like, good on you, Delta.
People want.
Right. Exactly. Well, cool. Well, I think we've got about enough time maybe for 1 or 2 more questions.
Okay.
One other thing I was thinking about as we've been going along is when you think about some of the audience and some of the brokers and what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to get a seat at the table. They're trying to work with you to influence decision to have you become a client. What's like a big piece of advice you would give them, whether it's like learn your organization, learn how money's made, maybe just learn what you like and what you manage. Like what's a piece of advice you would give them?
I think it is important for brokers to understand the culture of the company that they're focused on, understanding the workforce demographics, because all of this influences the type of benefit package that you're going to present us during renewal.
Right.
And I've been in positions where the broker, they go out to market, they get their rates, and they're like, here it is. And that's it. And there's no like intentional explanation of maybe why they would go with one package over another. I want my broker to know that they care about my employees and that they have the employee experience in mind. So I would say that just being intentional about understanding the organization that you're working with.
Yeah. I like that one. That's kind of similar to some other ones, but I think you hit the nail on the head with how you described it. I think it's important for people to actually understand versus like, hey, Olivia, I want to work with you. I can save you money. Right.
Exactly. And there was one more point I was thinking of. And I think, let's see. I was going to say, we don't just need brokers during open enrollment. I think we need resource support people that are like responsive all year round. Like I know we lean on brokers heavily during renewal season, but especially for those that offer like compensation resources, like they can help in so many other, like a different variety of ways. So I think it's also important to be responsive and be on top of providing answers quickly because HR, we have so many people asking questions every day that we might need your help with. And having someone super responsive on the team is very helpful.
That makes sense. It's not like you're going to them with a question because you just thought of it out of the blue. It's likely coming from somewhere, right?
Right, exactly. So please answer in at least 48 hours.
Right. Well, and that's the interesting thing too, because different HR leaders and different executives, they want to be engaged with in different ways. But I also think you hit the nail on the head with like basic responsiveness. and almost more of like proactivity. Because I was just talking to someone, actually, the episode that just got released yesterday, I was talking to a chief people officer from like a 230 employee company. And she said she's in constant communication with her consultant and they
Wow.
talk weekly just with different things that come up. And she said they're proactive and they're responsive and she wouldn't trade it for the world. Now she compared it to the prior relationship she had and she saw her broker twice a year and that was it.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really important to have that personal relationship. I like, especially like going back to the Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan Medicine situation, my broker has been super proactive in providing me like communication materials to like send to staff so that they can feel more comfortable in this time. And that's been super helpful. Just having a broker that's proactive, they recognize the issues coming up before I do, and providing me with like a toolkit to navigate them.
that's huge. No, it makes sense. And it's also like employees are at some point, if they haven't already, going to come to you with questions like, what do we do if this
Exactly.
happens, right?
And my answer is always going to be, well, let me go ask my broker.
Right. Or they provided me this nice checklist. Here you are.
Exactly. That would be lovely.
I love it. Okay, last question. I think it might be a little more near and dear to your heart. Developing people in HR. I know you've been involved in some different volunteer work. Actually, I think the last couple weeks even, and just developing early career HR folks. So I guess why does that matter to you? And what do you wish someone would have told you earlier in your career about it?
Yeah. I've actually been volunteering, I want to say like almost 8 years now. I started out in college supporting my local university chapter of SHRM. But yeah, I love serving others. I find the experience to be rewarding. I meet new people, and then some of those people become close friends. So I really enjoy giving back to the local HR community. I kind of mentally think of it as, when you go to a party and you're the only person there that you know and you don't know anyone else. I like to be the person that buddies up with that person. I'm pretty good at figuring out who might be good friends with who, and then by that time they have a person to look forward to seeing the next time, and they're more likely to come back, connect with local people in the network. And then I love developing. We have a really great partnership with Eastern Michigan University, and we're developing this amazing pipeline for students to leave their college, they're graduating, and then immediately hop into a full-time position with people that we trust because they're in our network. We know them, we vetted them, we trust that they're going to take care of these new students. So I just love it. I love being a part of something larger and giving back.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I do too. And I think one thing that I guess sparked in my mind when you were talking about that, it's just all about building a good network, but also giving back, right? Like those to me are the two things that I thought of as you were talking.
Yeah, 100%. And it's amazing because how do I describe it? I have told people that when I had nobody or was at my lowest points, I had my HR community. And it's more than just hanging out with people after work. It's like these people, I tell them about my personal life. I go out to get dinner with them. Like I know what's happening in their life. And then when I need them, like I can ask them an HR question.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the whole point of network, right?
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, I think that rounds out all the things that we wanted to talk about. I think you brought a great perspective to this, Olivia. I really appreciate your time and joining the People Behind the Benefits podcast. Excited for this to get released later this month, and just continuing to build on some great content for our community. So wanted to thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. This was a lovely experience, and I'm super excited to share it with the world.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. Well, hopefully we'll have to have you back sometime. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.